Nadeem Saab, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Kashmir
Walaikum salam.
Foundation's Everyday Legend session. This is where we celebrate personalities like you who are making a tremendous impact in our understanding of our left and our right and our back and our front. In growing in Kashmir, you have a remarkable career. When I met you in Pampore, I knew I had to sit down with you. I'm glad I'm sitting down with you today.
Firstly, my sincere appreciations to Kashmir Care Foundation and your good self, Dr. Saab, for giving me an opportunity. I consider myself as a volunteer for nature, and I have spent my 25 years searching that why I'm this planet Earth. So I think this podcast or this meeting with your great self will really answer certain of my curiosities, and I really would like to thank you personally for giving me this opportunity to be part of this wonderful session.
नदीम साहब जो कश्मीर केयर फाउंडेशन का काम है ये वॉलंटरी काम है बहुत से लोग जुड़े हुए हैं इसके साथ सो आई एम एक्चुअली benefiting from everyone who supports it and we manage these programs in a very collaborative manner and from time to time I ask you for your inputs too so thank you for sharing your
We had
inputs.
been committed for this reason when we had a chance to interact with your great self. It really added a value that there are people, the people who belong to this land, who are really concerning about how we should move forward. And I must tell you, my students at my own school really enjoy every bit of the conversations on social media and outside that. The wonderful, setting of the programs and the conferences and all the online presence has added great value to their dreams and vision. So I must congratulate and thank you on behalf of the entire young minds and beautiful minds of Kashmir. But as you have the deep roots in Kashmir, we are your committed volunteers for the Kashmir Care Foundation, sir.
Nadeem sir, also say is in a neighboring country about 15 years ago in a meeting that you want to kick nine queenie. These are not Kashmiris saying it, but non-Kashmiris saying. So I think something connects us. Something connects us emotionally, genetically, environmentally. हम उससे बात करेंगे. नदीम साहब, आपका करियर बड़ा यूनिक है. For those who know this, they may not fully appreciate it. But those who don't know it, they need to know it. And I'm so happy that they'll know it through this conversation. You did your law in Jammu University.
Yes.
Many of your colleagues probably went in criminal law, corporate law, things that may seem economically vibrant and lucrative. You took a path towards environmental law. Tell us what prompted you to go into environmental law. And there is, I know that's where your calling was, that's where your belonging was. And then also tell the audience कि पहले स्कूलिंग कहाँ पे की थी, एलिमेंट्री, मिडिल, फिर कॉलेज कहाँ गए थे?
Uh, my connection to my own self is more on spiritual basis than on physical presence on this materialistic cosmos. Actually, my birthday is 15th of August, 1985. So by touching August, I'll be turning 40. So it has been in challenging all the years of my survival on this planet Earth because my childhood was not more on the academics. I was not too much into brilliance of the world of education, but I was enjoying every bit of my schooling. I had a wonderful experience while beautifully enjoying the butterflies of my school campuses or that too at my home. So it pushed me to my childhood journey that I had a love for nature. I have a commitment towards environment. I have a passion towards what I believe in that uh, nature. And that nature education somehow fascinated me more on these than the academic excellences, which most of the people, young people in their teenagers follow, like the marks, the percentage, the career orientations. And that somehow landed me into the 5 years integrated program, which was started in 2004, and I completed my law in the year 2009. And then I still had, during those years of my 5 years integrated program, I had an clarity in my mind that I don't belong to this black court. Even if I was studying law, somehow my heart and mind was all into environmental conservation, doing campaigns, saving River Tavi in Jammu, because I spent entire 5, 6 years during my law course in the 47-degree temperature. And that brought me into this hard work of understanding that I don't actually belong to this profession as well. But my temptation from my childhood days pursuing and following those butterflies landed me into the Jammu and Kashmir's first environmental lawyer. I still remember it was 2011. I entered the Honorable High Court courtroom number 01, which is the Honorable Chief Justice's court. And I said, Lordship, I'm here for protecting people of Kashmir from the dog menace. And that was the first public interest litigation in 2011 when the Lordship, said it to me, young lawyer, why are you coming to this court? So that pushed me that I must have an answer, because we get very less time to convince the lordships in the microseconds. So I took the career risk and said that, Lordship, I am the environmental lawyer and I really want to work for the environment. And that specialization turned up my experience in the courtroom. And mashallah, with the grace and the support from the very like-minded individuals, I turned up to be Jammu and Kashmir's first environmental lawyer, within gaining the highest position in the court of law as the amicus curiae. They call it learned amicus curiae in the year 2017. And with God's grace and all the hard work, we are committedly into the environmental justice and governance model. And we are working with the Honorable High Court in coming up with landmark orders for the conservation, preservation, protection of our nature resource management, and more important, of our forest, wetlands, our air quality index, our solid waste management. So this journey of 10 to 15 years was not only a challenging for me, but I was trying to convince myself that is it a right profession to choose, and that too in a bleak situation like Jammu and Kashmir, where environment is no priority for people. But as such, I have been privileged enough to get some sort of an commitment from the court and the encouragement from the Lord Chief Justice that my environmental jurisprudence and law has really shaped some of the structural changes in the system. And I'll be talking about more on my legal contribution, but more important, sir, school days, Woodland House School at Gupkar. We used to get a lot of horse chestnut trees. And when we used to collect those horse chestnuts, I was not knowing that I'll be planting more than 2 lakh trees at the end of this 2025. This 2 lakh trees taught me that a lawyer has more bigger responsibilities for the planet Earth. And that's what I am having: multiple roles, multiple responsibilities, and multiple commitments. So bringing them together, I decided to actually choose this profession, not only to turn Jammu and Kashmir's first tag of an environmental lawyer, but to fight for those hapless animals, hapless birds, migratory birds who have been poached upon, and our wetlands turning up into wastelands. I think it was a collective responsibility, and I took it as a personal responsibility. And that way, this journey of 15 years in the court of law has taught me many lessons, that I am all alone, even if spending almost a decade in the courtroom number one. But on the right side, you have a battery of lawyers opposing your ideas from the government side and other parts. So it was a tough journey. But as I am committed to my profession, as I'm committed on my oath, that I will not leave any stone unturned to give Kashmiris a better Dal Lake, better wetlands, better highlands, and this struggle will continue till we have the commitment attached with our soul.
नदीम साहब, पहले तो मुबारक हो आपको कि आपने जब ये तालीम शुरू की, आप वुडलैंड से तवी
जी,
नदी तक पहुंच गए, मगर आपकी सोच नहीं चेंज हुई. You mentioned 47-degree incubation you had for 4
true.
years,
And that too in one room.
but I think it made you to be who you are, to present yourself in court number one.
Yes.
So Kashmiri number one in court number one,
Very true. That's called the Lord Chief Justice's Court.
MashaAllah. And we'll come to the environment side in a little bit. मगर मैं जाना चाहता हूँ when I visited you in Pampore, and I'll come to the Nature University, but I wanted to go to your home first. To your grandfather, who was your mentor and who inspired you. Um, tell the audience, what does that inspiration mean? उन्होंने क्या आपको कहा, कैसे कहा, कब कब कहा कि you became number one, so that others can also benefit and you can keep on influencing others the way your grandfather inspired you.
Thank you very much for touching my family legacy. Dr. Saab, I come from a Qadri family of Kashmir, and more importantly from Pampore. I cannot summarize my grandfather's committed 100 years of contribution to the Jammu and Kashmir, but I will try to summarize it in a very brief, in a very articulate manner, what he has taught me. Definitely, he's my grandfather, and I take privilege and honor to introduce him as Pirzada Ghulam Jilani Qadri of Pampore. We have a lineage of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani's holy relic. That is our custody of the family of Qadri families of Pampore. But beyond that, he was a very noble soul. I'm sure many people across the world know him because of the reason that his political contribution is enormous. What he shared with me as a grandson, because I was his driver, I was his PSO, I was his comrade, and I was his assistant in his journey of the post-political era of my grandfather. The last election he fought was 1984, and I'm 85 born. So my political lineage is actually in a non-political atmosphere, but what I was learning from my grandfather's legacy is something what he has explained it to me, and I'll be more than happy to do justice in few minutes of explaining his role. Actually, he was the uh, Tahsildar of Pampore way back when Maharaja Hari Singh was ruling the Jammu and Kashmir. Way back when he got into the tussle of Quit Kashmir movement, he was imprisoned by the Maharaja Hari Singh, and he was lodged in many jails across Jammu and Kashmir. He took the challenge and launched a Quit Kashmir movement, and that's what he was always considered as a freedom fighter for the reason of liberating it from the autocratic rule of Maharajas into a democratic system. He was a constituent assembly member who actually after getting the freedom fighter status, also joined the Constituent Assembly. He was a principal person in drafting the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir. And being one of the members in the Constituent Assembly, he was someone who really questioned the greatest of the great leaders of Kashmir, that why we are being even paid in the assembly. We should not be, because we are doing the more of a socio-political services for the people rather than coming here for remuneration in the assembly. That was something a standard of political interventions when he started doing it as a drafting committee member and completed the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir with a preamble, "We the people of Jammu and Kashmir." That inspiration came particularly from the journey of one of the stories which I would like to share with you all. Maharaja Hari Singh used to have Jagirdari and the systems which they used to collect the taxes from the people. And what my grandfather told, the first-hand story, what made him to be a rebel in the autocratic rule, was that every Pampore saffron grower had to give 50% of flowers to Maharajas, those persons who used to collect the saffron nearby our house. That was something like a man in horse used to have people of Pampore walking in front of those, so that they will not go and skip any of the queues. And then they used to come to the collection center, and they used to give half of the saffron flower to the Maharaja's kitty. And that was the Jagirdari system, which the taxation part of the Maharaja. That prompted my grandfather to be a rebel, and that prompted my grandfather to fight the autocratic rule of Maharaja. And that's what he succeeded in not only abolishing the giving saffron flowers to Maharaja, but that was the reason he was imprisoned by Maharaja Hari Singh. So that was the one of the stories which still of that times in 2025 era fascinates me, that how can someone who is young, 23 years old, rebel, fought against Maharaja's Jagirdari system because we had to give half of our saffron flowers to the Maharaja's kitty. So that resilience and fighting with this sort of an hope that we should restore the democratic system so that we can have our own elected leaders was something a start point of his political career. But he was unbeatable. He continued as an MLA, Pampore, for not more than 40 consecutive years. Then he was elevated to the member of Legislative Assembly Council, and he was an advisor to the none other than the Prime Minister of Jammu and Kashmir and Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad Sahab. So that was something that he told me once, that Kash, we would not have landed into the Prime Minister, say Chief Minister. We could have been a different place altogether. That was something, a teaching which has come to my DNA, that we should stand up for any injustices going on, whether it is environmental injustice, social injustice, and economical injustice. That has been in my DNA, and nobody can take the chromosomes up. That's what something DNA works. But fundamentally, there is another important aspect of my grandfather, that he was very spiritually charged person, and he was all like into the spirituality of Sufi culture, then the Sufism, then the Kashmiri Gavun, and all the things which used to keep him connected all the time, which I had remembered in him till his last days. He passed away in 2016. That his connection in this world of materialism was more on terms of a spiritual nature. So he was the custodian, and we show holy relic of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah Allah at Khanyar Sharif. So he was more on that, we have a responsibility not only towards the political side of the Kashmir, the spiritual side of the Kashmir. So balancing between the Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani's responsibility of showing the holy relic and then having a strong political career, being a former advisor to the Prime Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, was something like very inspirational. And that was something like when I heard Madam Indira Gandhi has come to our house to show her commitment and support to my grandfather. And I used, as a student of law, read her autobiographies, that she used to be called as an Iron Lady of India. She used to be most powerful, dynamic Prime Minister. Then I used to ask my grandfather why the Iron Lady came to Pampore, to our house. And was it like a sort of a commitment sharing, or it was your stature so high that they used to respect you a lot, that we have none other than Mahatma Gandhi coming to Pampore, Ali Muhammad Jinnah Sahab coming to Pampore, Madam Indira Gandhi coming to Pampore, and the endless persons I have heard in my career of being his close aide. So that was something which always inspires me, that he was an extraordinary person with extraordinary responsibilities. He did his job. He gave the constitution to the people. He gave the constitution to the Jammu and Kashmir. I really admire him as my personality, as my inspiration, as someone who always be my mentor or role model. But there's another side of it which most of the people don't know, and I want to share it. My grandmother, in this cosmos of politics in Kashmir, that my grandmother's name did not emerge as one of the you know uh, personalities on the education side. She is actually had spent her entire life as a teacher, and that way, in the year 1975, she was awarded by none other than the President of India's award on the best teacher category. And Saida Begum uh, had a name in herself, that she started many new schools, particularly the girls' schools in Pampore, and that was appreciated none other than the President of India. And that was where my legacy of this, what you touched about the Nature University. Actually, I don't have masters, I don't have PhD, but I have a DNA of what United Nations said about the goal 4, the quality education. The goal 4 talks more about how we can have inclusive quality education reaching out to the people. And that's what I was forced in my free time from the courtroom 001, I must contribute towards nature education. And that's what I prompted none other than the Mr. N. Vora in 2016. I said, His Excellency, I am coming up with an offer that would you like to join us for the Nature University? Trust me, the first meeting with His Excellency, the governor in 2016, he said it to me, and I still remember the great words of a legend, Mr. N. Vora. He said, "Can I get the membership?" In my legal language, I said that, sir, if we register it tomorrow as a part of the private member bill, we'll definitely have you as a chancellor because by default, the governor becomes the chancellor. But he was knowing that my intent is not to create a university. It is, as you rightly said about, is a nature education. I am not an owner. I'm not the custodian of this. I am just a founder of the concept. And when I Google it about कि किसी ने ये कोई Google में save तो नहीं किया है, किसी ने protect तो नहीं किया है, I got all the domains free. I got for 500 rupees one domain, another domain for 650 rupees. I said, on earth, nobody registered the Nature University. So Almighty has kept it for me as my share of my contribution. And I only consider myself as an trustee of this university rather than the owner. So my intention is not to make it as something, but as my grandfather's journey is always hardcore politics with no compromises on his ethics and political understanding. I always see myself as a green politician. I always consider it as an environmental political student rather than going into the political part of it.
So thank you so much to those who'll be listening to this program. I want to invite each one of them to schedule a tour of Nature University.
Yes, Pampore welcomes them all with the open hearts, the saffron
And जब
fields.
मैं गया था वहाँ पे, I'm gonna share with the audience, there were vibrant men and women, boys and girls. Girls were more vibrant than boys were. And each one of them had a question. Each one of them had a suggestion. You may still chapagawa asnike. No, it's so that's an attestation to what you teach them. The kind of conversation you as an attorney and you as an inspirational for power have them. I remember ak ladko ostam su nav su mashid gasavan. Microbiology paron. Magar my father doesn't understand microbiology. Kya career binding. So this is Nature's University. You are basically simplifying the matters that are in front of us. And I'll come back to the wetlands. I'll come back to the history of Pampore, the greater Tral, why people should also visit Pampore. Gulmarg to Chitiek, Palgan to Chik, Sonmarg to Chik, Dotpur to Chitiek, there are wetlands, and I'll come back to that. So, Nadeem Sab, आप काफ़ी non-profits के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. Or I can look at Amnesty, the human rights, the parliamentary forum and everything. Each one of it can become a full-time job, and yet you have your own practice, Nature University, and then multiple roles you play. Give us two examples of the work you may have done with human rights and the work you may have done with Amnesty.
Thank you very much, sir, for bringing me into the international picture. I got an invitation from Adobe Foundation. I had 2 times graduated from Adobe Foundation, which is one of the software development corporations across the world. And I was doing and running their program here called Adobe Youth Voices, how we can bring the creativity out of the young people in 2011. We made a lot of documentaries. We landed ourselves in a lot of controversies because we were very open-minded people with no ill will or intention to hurt anyone. But we mean at the end that real-time stories should be told to people rather than the what we call the misnomers. So definitely, I had a very strong career related to involving environment with human rights. When we say that human rights encompasses the primary fundamental responsibility of the state and the institutions which are governing it, like United Nations institution as a whole. But fundamentally, we observe that the vision of UN, the vision of big nation theories, does not percolate to that bottom of the pyramid when we say the society. And that's what Amnesty International gave me a little bit of understanding about the issues. And when I tried to integrate environment with human rights, so they were saying that, oh, we have to rewrite the human rights because at that time it was a hardcore human rights issues going on the issues related to conflicts and other part. But I tried to convince them that the environment rights and environmental justice will become one of the important arguments which we are seeing right now, whether it is the crisis on humanitarian levels, but it's ultimately the political powers playing around the water politics, the hydropolitics, and the other things like the glaciers and the water towers. Who possesses more glaciers? And it's a natural resource management. So fundamentally, my experience with these organizations was always a learning experience. But my wonderful connect with the one of the finest organizations is the Earth Day Network, which is based in Washington D.C. In 1970s, they started with a clean air movement in Washington D.C. and it turned up to be an 2 billion volunteers working with Earth Day, and I was one of the small minuscule volunteers from Jammu and Kashmir. But I never imagined that in due course that environment will become so important issue in the courtrooms, in the assemblies, and in the corridors of bureaucrats, that we all need to gear up for this. So Earth Day Network Washington DC, now this called Earth Day Org. So it's called Earth Day Organization now. So that was something my commitment. I got an international organization in 2014, which really understands my commitment towards nature, whether it is planting trees under canopy project, whether it is cleanup, great cleanup, and plastic pollution. And I have a lot of success stories I'll be happy to share, like about Dachigam National Park. Once upon a time, the national park flooded with garbage, flooded with kachra, and flooded with all the plastic wrappers and bottles. Today, when I visit now officially as an amicus curiae and as a volunteer for Earth Day as a senior consultant, you will not find a single plastic wrapper. Not even of a bottle. Bottle is a big size part. We call it a wrapper. That is the commitment we have been making to our natural resource management because we don't have resources. We can only manage either with the order of the High Court, which is like coming free of cost because no investment is required because I wear the gown which is hanging in my courtroom, the chamber. But there are some other elements part that we don't deal with finances. The best and the great service which I have done it to myself is that I have not touched finances, neither from the corporates, neither from the government side, neither even from the salary of the High Court. So I don't take a single perk from the High Court giving my 1 year, decade of my contribution in environmental justice. But yes, I'm a green entrepreneur. I plant trees. I have a big forest on my name. We have planted 2 lakh trees, and Alhamdulillah, they are now full grown forests. That is my halal source of income. And I'm so proud that my halal source comes from the nature itself because nature feeds my house, nature feeds my daughters, my family. And that's giving me more confidence that I'm not involved in any of the things that somebody will tell that, oh, he might have made empires out of it. Definitely, I work with corporate friends. I advise them how to reduce the air pollution, air quality index, and other part. But the fundamental advantage with this conversation was more on can we really tell the story of Pampore to the people? This Pampore is not only about that which brought me to the international podium or the organizations, but I have no passport. You will be surprised to know that as an attorney of the Supreme Court, as an High Court advocate, as working with global organizations like you named few. I have more of the Climate Reality Project with Al Gore, the Nobel laureate. I work with Earth Day Network as a senior consultant with them. I work with Sanctuary Nature Foundation. I work with many other international reputed organizations. But you'll be surprised to know I don't have passport. My passport expired way back, almost a decade, and I never intended to renew it. Because when I was in the year 2014, before floods of 2014, I got a call from Department of Zoology, University of Cambridge. They said that we are inviting you for the poster presentation on Hangul conservation because I was known as a Hangul boy those days. Now I'm a man with gray hair and little bit of great fatigue coming to my own self. But I said categorical to them that I will not be able to come because I don't have a passport. Because that is a reason. I got so much of global invitations, attending COPs, international conferences, international meetings. I never opted for. The moment I would have left my Pampore or my Srinagar Sheikhul Alam International Airport, definitely there would have been no one taking care of our water resources, the wetlands, the migratory birds. If there could have been a second lawyer on my left or a right, I would have felt relieved, sir. But after a decade of alone fighting in the courtroom number one before the Lord Chief Justices, I've seen around 10 Lord Chief Justices passing orders, n number of, I have a landmark orders. But I always get fascinated that all the international organizations which work with us at the Pamport in that mud office, which is completely earthen sustainable building, we took privilege that we have been successfully able to convince Al Gore, to convince the Vice President of the United States of America, to work with the schools of Pampur. And you will be surprised, we signed an MOU with the Directorate of School Education for 114 schools to be transformed into a nature education zone in entire Pampur. And who is the mentor behind? The Al Gore, the 45th Vice President of America, the Nobel laureate who got the Nobel in 2006. What is he doing in Pampur? I don't understand that. So, but we convinced them that Pampur is not only the source of life on the earth. You said Hazrat Adam landed from the paradise and Eve landed into Sri Lanka, whatever the philosophies and the processes are being told to us. I said, actually, the life on the planet Earth started from Pampore. And it is the 252 million years ago when the first tsunami struck the planet Earth, way back way back 252 million years old. And I am the custodian of the fossil park. I take care of the fossil park. But nobody from any across the world came to Pampore to see these fossils, which are 252 million
Hold
years
that
old.
thought. Hold that thought. I'm going to have a segment on Pampore's pride,
Okay.
which is more than you. And I'll come to that. I think people have started getting a feeling environmental issues are more than plastic. Environmental issues are more than trees.
True.
It's about us breathing the air that is healthy for our lungs. It's us walking the streets at any time of the day that is safe. It is about our boys and girls getting what they need to get from the society that's respectable. It is saving wildlife. It is making sure the Dal is clean for those who visit the Dal and also for the animals that survive because of
The
that,
what?
God,
Yes.
God included, right? अब इस मामले में एक चीज आती है, and I wanted your views on that. The feedback, we constantly keep on getting feedback. Ak environmental menace che wild dogs, right?
Mm.
There is a section of community who say don't bother them, they have equal rights on the streets. But then we hear so much of the bites, dog bites. Lockit shurim pakancha asan school per chima, school per chagasan. Where the amicus curiae hat now? Is there a way to have an intelligent conversation with the leaders to be in the government, with the ministries, that this is also an environmental issue for us? We need to protect ourselves. How would one do that?
You touched in my initial days of my courtroom fight with the Lord Chief Justice's court, and along with the battery of lawyers on the respondent side. It was March 2000 and exactly the 2011. I entered the courtroom with a long list of my books and agenda that we need to find solution to the dog menace in Srinagar. And to my surprise, when the government was asked by the Lordship that what is the present scenario of dog menace in Srinagar, I'm not talking about Kashmir, I'm just focusing on my conversation which you asked about the dog menace. 92,000 number was given by the Srinagar Municipal Corporation way back in 2011, or actually surviving on the streets of Srinagar. Yeah, at that time, the concept of smart city was too far off a project, and they had never realized that how far this dog menace will be a problem for human population. But there was something called a serious issue. The drugs which used to be must be kept available in the hospitals related to the dog bites. And you will be shocked to know that not even an SNHS hospital, which used to be our premier hospital, used to have the adequate drugs availability on the hospital, government hospitals. And leaving aside the primary health centers at the Mufassal areas and other part, the challenge with the dog maintenance is directly proportionate to our lifestyle. I will not come to the animal rights part of it because they are always there as we are talking about the human rights. So they have equal lobbying say and more of a PR say. This talk about more through the lenses of in public relations than understanding the real problems our people of Srinagar or Kashmir are facing. Many deaths take place, and very much and hard to believe that young boys are losing their lives because of the dog menaces and a part. But when we did a little bit analysis, it is also the mirror image and the reflection of our society, that how we treat our solid waste. I understand what you intend to make, but when our streets are full with garbage, and garbage is quietly readily available to be consumed by not afterwards humans but the animals, so they act as in scavengers for us. So one part of it is that they eat something which is left over, but at the same time create more problems for us. But fundamentally it is the mirror image of our society, and we have to realize and understand number of dogs, increasing number of dogs, and the overgrowth of human population of the dogs than the humans in Srinagar will ultimately question about that how properly solid waste management is taken care of. Every day, 750 metric tons of garbage goes untreated without any scientific treatment, without any segregation at source, directly to your action garbage dumping site at Eidgah. So you can understand that every day when 700 metric tons of waste is quietly available on the streets of Srinagar before it is picked up by the sweepers and then put it loaded into the dumpers, you have the one population there reflecting that what we are, how much we are consuming and what is the reflection. But at the same time, the government has utterly failed in their constitutional responsibility about the how to control the dog menace. And it was the animal birth control, we call it ABC rules. They are not created by last decade. They're there from last 2.5 decades. That every dog, if it is a pet dog, it has to be registered and given a proper vaccination. That's one category of that. The another is the street dog, and they have to be treated under the animal birth control so that you can have their population under control. But when we argued in 2011, that time we had an issue with the constitutional validity of animal birth control rules getting implemented in Jammu and Kashmir because of our special status. But that time the argument was whether the Animal Welfare Board of India will have a jurisdiction over the Jammu and Kashmir because it was barred from the Article 370. And that's what the argument left all the questions unanswered, that who is ultimately going to take care. So the animal birth control is the responsibility of the government of Jammu and Kashmir to start the rule, implement the rules, and start the process as soon as it is going to be viable. They did not do it. And you have the multifold non-implementation of Honorable High Court orders and the multiple non-implementation of the Honorable Division Bench order. With that result, dogs are still on our streets. The food is still spill over and being consumed by them. And after even more than 4 decades of Atsan getting notified as a dumping site, still every day of 750 metric tons is unscientifically dumped at your Eidgah. Means you still don't have a solution for your problems, but you still have the problems in your neighborhood. So for that reason, sir, the court realized that these wild dogs, or what we call them as, very much in terms of dogs with rabies, they are moving in very openly in your street and nobody is giving damn about it. But now if you touch a dog, you will be penalized and you will be put behind bars, because the animal rights activists are more vocal about the issue than those who we talk about the human rights angle and young boys are still losing their lives. So we need to have an holistic approach where the government plays its role, understands the hard work done by us in the courtrooms and finding certain orders and the logical conclusions, and still not getting some desired results. Certain cases we've won on merits, certain cases are answered to be given by the society who is at the fault.
Nadeem Saab, if you ever, and I hope you will, take this matter up, I commit to you my personal time in getting you scientific. It's a public health problem. It's not an animal safety or human, it's a public health problem. A
Indeed.
bite of a dog causes severe health issues. It causes severe trauma in a child who may refuse to go to school for the next day, next week. It causes trauma to her mother and daughter. And imagine if that child was 2-year-old, 3-year-old, walking back from the daycare. So I commit to you my personal time to bring science to this public health problem. Kashmir has to be the safest Switzerland in South
Indeed.
Asia. And part of that safety is free from dog menace.
And I
Let me
must add here, before you go into the second part of it, the Honorable High Court closed our public interest litigation in the year 2020. But there is another element to it. The Honorable Court restarted hearing this matter last year. So, what I will be requesting, Dr. Saab, if any chance you have a concept note or any preliminary draft which can be brought to the notice of the Lord Chief Justice related to this public interest litigation, which is now open on dog menace, may add some sort of a judgmental value to the Honorable Lordship's clarity of the thoughts. I think if we volunteer and you also help me, a small one-pager, not more details, can be brought into the CMP before the Lordship in this PIL, which is now court on its own motion. So I think the court is now hearing the own case. So I think any lawyer, I can intervene, I can submit that concept note or an policy paper or any strategic policy paper, which can be given a due consideration by the Honorable Court. Let us volunteer after this program is completed with due grace. Let us volunteer maybe after a month, because we have a complete holiday for this June month. So we'll have a reopening of the court on the 1st of July. So we have ample time to maybe write few paragraphs and give it to the Lord Chief Justice.
I will commit a preparation of a non-paper on this, which will have referenceable material.
I think it's a golden opportunity to do it.
Ki dog bite kharab hai will have referenceable from major universities, major public health institutions. Why we need to worry about it?
True, indeed.
So I commit to it. I'll do it.
Surely, we have enough time to process this.
Zarur. Let me now bring Pampore back in our conversation. My pitch is the pride of Pampore. Ichu saffron se badi baat hai ye. And I did not know that during the rule of Maharaja, 50% of taxation happened.
Saffron flowers.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Shame on that time. Shame on those rulers. Let's go to Pampore now. You have tremendous wetlands. You have migratory birds who rest during their continental voyage, right? And then you have historical artifacts, history in time and space. You can go back millions of years.
Yes.
Let us commit 3 minutes of your conversation. Invite Kashmiris and invite Jammu and Kashmiris, invite everyone to visit Pampore. When they go to Pahalgam, Pampore to Chuyun, Gulmarg Chun, Pampore to Chuyun. It's a short 1-hour drive. Visit Nature University on the side as well. Take it over.
Thank you very much. 3 minutes. It will be very grossly injustice with my land, but I'll try to convince you that why you should visit my beautiful place. First, I always tell people that our DNA and our roots of Kashmir must go back to 252 million years old. We don't have the human existence on the planet, which is just a mere few million years, but we are going back to 252 million. It's a proven fact. 50 more global universities work with us. on a very important site. And I must be giving credit to my mentor, Professor G.M. Bhatt Sahab, who is someone who called a geologist by profession, but a mentor for me. He has guided me that how Pampore is globally rich and how world must come and visit our beautiful land for the fossil research, for the fossil hunting, for the geotourism. That is what we call a geological tourism. I'll not be touching that much more. There's a research subject. Google is open for it. Then I'll be coming to a very important aspect of it is the beautiful Wosturvan forests. When we call the densest forest in Kashmir, you must need to check the density per square meter of trees. The highest is in the Wosturvan forest, and we are grateful that it is known for the very revered Sufi saint and a poet and our none other than Wahab Khar. And Wahab Khar said, and Wahab Khar always brings me into the phase of my world of my understanding about nature. Ha sher savaro kor gasak akhir se marunchi. Even if you are riding a lion, you still have to taste the death. So this is the Wahab Khar in the Wasturvan forest. Then ultimately, when you come down towards downhill, so you have the very important Nag temples, where the Jamia Masjid and Nag temple does not even have a wall in between. We have many stories in Kashmir where you have the wall in between Jamias and the temples. But the Ladu is the only spiritual circuit where Sheikhul Alam has spent 13 years in his cave. The Shai Hamdan has come and rested at that place. You have a Nag temple which is 10,000 years old, and you have a Jamia Masjid which does not have a wall in between. So that area of Ladu, downhill, Wasturvan gives you a spiritual connect of including Jivan Sahab, who is a very highly revered Kashmiri Pandit spiritual leader. School of thought, we call Shivism school of thought. So Jivan Sahab was one of the inspiring personalities in that. So Ladu is there. Then you come little bit down than the Ladu area is the beautiful wetlands of Pampore. So we have the four in circuit. We call them the wetland complex. So we have Chatlam wetland, Manibuk wetland, Kranchu wetland, and Fashkuri wetland. These wetlands were very much abandoned by the government, and there was no custodian rule over it. No one was owning them. Till 2014, being a lawyer and environmental lawyer, I lobbied with my friend Dr. Shah Faisal, and he was the first ACR of Pulwama on a probation. I said, Faisal, can we do something together? He said, what I can do for you? I said, let you hand over these four wetlands to the department. The moment the process was completed, we had lot of surprises. That those rare birds which never have been identified in Kashmir were seen and identified in Pampore, and I became an ornithologist in making, and I was a passionate bird watcher for almost a decade of my experience. I have seen mallards breeding in thousands and having thousands of chicks coming down from Pampore, and that's what motivates me to protect these wetlands, sir. And trust me, the saffron fields, this wetlands, and the beautiful Wasturvan and the fossil park gives a composite cultural connect and the very ecological importance. Today, I must be sharing with you that Pampore is the only town, rather area in entire Jammu and Kashmir, which has added two more wetlands. So we'll be having 4+2. So rather than people give argument that wetlands are dwindling, wetlands are being destroyed, wetlands are being killed, wetlands are being damaged, there is an people encroaching upon. I don't find any reason or a logic that why can't they have a success story like Pampore? There were just few weeks back I added two more wetlands to the Pampore, so now we have 6 wetlands of Pampore, not 4. So that is in addition to the information. Thanks to the Honorable Supreme Court, which said that every wetland has to be documented. We actually had no protection for those two. Now we got the Honorable Supreme Court and the High Court overriding it as an amicus to be adding 2 more wetlands to Pampore. So wetlands are not only the waste, not only about the ecological hotspots, they are the home for those migratory birds which cannot survive on the land. So you need to have wet land. You need to have wet spaces so that they can breed, they can grow, they can have progenies, and they can go and fly to the other continents. We must understand these birds travel 4,000 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers, continuous journey, and we call that a Central Asian flyway. And luckily, when Pampore got on the map of the wetland conservation from garbage dumping sites, from filth, from solid waste management in 2010, today they are one of the clear, pristine water bodies And I always invite people who are passionate bird watchers to come in winter months and see more than 1 lakh migratory birds coming to a small place like Pampore, and they will be with us for more than 6 months. And that's what for the category of ornithologists, for bird watchers to come and see, wetlands. But we have a very unique, land use of saffron. It changes colors. People visit Pampore, Karevas, or the saffron fields in the month of October to enjoy the saffron purple fly, or the flowers of saffron on the moonlight and other part, which used to be a very important tourist attraction. But you have a very unique wild tulips, which actually grow in the month of March and April. And it turns entirely the entire 2,000 hectares of saffron land into a green pastures, and have the billions, not millions, the billions of wild tulips which grow around the saffron fields. And that way, you can never imagine that the same field will turn up into an gray, and then turn up into brown, and then give a saffron. But it turns up lush green for complete 3 months, and that's what it turns ultimately a landscape into an a garden of Eden, the flowers and all across the Karevas. So that's what most of the people miss coming to Pampur. And not only that, we have Habba Khatun, the nightingale of Kashmir. I always tell students, do you know about Habba Khatun? Do you know our queen? How she turned up from a zone to an Habba Khatun, and how she was married, got married to a Yusuf Shah Chak in 1500, and more importantly, added a great value that the first queen of Kashmir has come from a Chandhara village of Habba Khatun. But there is another element of Pampur which goes deep into the philosophy of Shivism and spirituality of the Lal Ded, Lal Ashwari. The Alamdari Kashmir said that, and asked the Almighty that the vision and the blessings you have given it to Lal Arifa, please bless my own soul with that. So you can see the stature of Pampur is not only limited to the 252 million years old fossil park, but it also connects the soul searching process of Laldet. But there's an element of a woolly mammoth, Paleolexodon, a 7 lakh years old elephant discovered from Galandhar. And most of the people only know it that Kushchudramut, the elephant, has got discovered from the Galandhar. Imagine, we never have seen elephants in this landscape. It was the same ice age, and 7 lakh years DNA carbon dating done on the research part at our Nature University through Professor G.M. Bhatt discovered that there were presence of humans who have butchered that, we call it a Paleolexodon. It was firstly actually the mammoth. The mammoth theory got discarded. Then they said, okay, it is Elephas nimidicus, means the big elephant of the father of the woolly mammoth. Then the whole world sat together and gave us a research paper last year. And I can be happy to share with you, Dr. Altaf. It turned up an elephant was butchered by humans almost 5 lakh to 7 lakh years ago. And those tools are with us. We have the presence of the tusk. We have all the things, runes available. So it turned up to be not woolly mammoth, not Elephas nimidicus. It turns up to be Paleolexodon, the father of all the elephants, which was going missing in this continent of South Africa and the South Asia. So we turned up that Galandhar Pampore has the presence of that, and we are going to discover more of the skeletons, which we are going to work with our experts on it. But that was one of the element part which was somehow missing, which we added, and last element of completing the Pampore through the prism of geological, astronomical, spiritual, conservation, and all the elements together, including the Habba Khatun, the nightingale of Kashmir.
So to those of us who are going to watch this, I would advise them and request them they should watch this interview a couple of times,
Honored.
because the environment is an inclusive term. It's got fossil life, it's got agricultural life. It's got
Very
history. It's got not just saffron. It's got tulips. It's got the wetlands, wide wetlands, and the flight, transcontinental flights, 4 से 5 हजार kilometers, miles वो उड़ के जाते हैं, and they have predetermined resting spaces where they breathe.
Yes.
And when I used to work on influenzas, we would use the migratory path to draw blood specimens to see what kind of pathogens are they moving around with. So it's a fascinating thing. I think एक तो मैं आपके लिए वो policy paper बनाऊंगा
Sure.
on the menace of the
Dog
dog.
millions. Yes,
I
indeed.
think
It will
we
be a
should
part of the
also at
records.
some point have a separate session on Williw Pampore. We should tag it Williw Pampore for Kashmiris first to come back to Pampore, visit Pampore, go back 200 million years. You don't have to go to anywhere, take an hour drive or 2 hour drive and come
30
to Pampore.
minutes.
Inshallah, aapse main, I'll connect with you on that piece separately.
Surely, sir.
Now, the last piece is your family. You talked about your daughters. Could you please thank them on our behalf? Because you've given so much of your life, your career, to the environment, which is not fully understood by people. It should Dallas got the Navi bihun. It should Dallas khatra socham, right? You should forest ke liye sochna hai. Which tree to plant and when to plant and where to plant. Wetlands ko expand karna hai. There's a reason for that. Please thank your wife. Please thank your children. That
Oh,
we are better people because of Nadeem Saab. And
they had
obviously,
been my source of inspiration, and people like you have added a grace to this conversation. I never discussed my family, but it was my daughter during the COVID times that she said that, Baba, I don't want to use the screen time of my school. Would you like to talk to principal ma'am? And said, I don't want to go virtual into my school. I said, okay, fine. I'm paying the fees to the good school and you don't need to worry about. I took her to the backyard of my house, in which led to this nature school's formation. And during that walk, we had mud puddles, all the things around. And I still remember in my childhood, I used to push myself, make my hands dirty, make those mitti ki balls and play with them, have the feel of that. You cannot afford a ball which could have been costing few 100 rupees, or leather ball and other, and making those small balls with the hands dirty in mud. I used to tell Ayat always. She has a Facebook page, by the way, the Ayat Qadri. Now she is not into that. I have just used it for the source of inspiration for other parents, that girls are equally important. Mashallah, with Almighty has blessed me with 2 daughters, and that has added a grace to my all belief that Prophet has said that doors of paradise open, and I should have firm belief that daughters are like the ambassadors towards the paradise, and we really should feel honored that Almighty has blessed us with the daughters. But the inspiration for other students was that motivating their parents not to cage them in the schools, not to cage them in the classrooms, not to cage them inside their homes. Allow them to watch butterflies, allow them to plant trees, allow them to make mud balls in that mud puddles, and have the feeling of understanding that the velocity and the water content, the bacteria is going on. That's what the whole world is talking about. So the COVID 19 taught me that the world can be more peaceful for animals, for those extraterrestrial species, which are always getting crumbled and pressurized by the human presence. So I thought that Almighty has its own cycle to control this beautiful Mother Earth. We call it blue marble. And he knows the much better mechanism. So Ayat was one of the inspirations for the nature school, which is fully functional on Sundays. Any parent, anyone who would like to come, subah morning 10 baje se sham ke 5 baje tak, the nature school is open on every Sunday. Universities for the JRFs, the junior research fellows, the senior research. I must be telling Altaf Saab, one of the boy from Sopore was a student at our university. We called it nature school, got fellowship at University of Cambridge. and he is right now doing his PhD doctorate program. And you will be surprised. The bahana to go to Cambridge was not some hardcore IT or any other knowledge. It was that he discovered 7 new species of flies. He's an entomologist. And that too were on the cow dung at Sopor. And those 7 species on his name landed him to in the world's #1 university, University of Cambridge. The other boy who helped me in wetland conservation and who was an ornithologist get 1 crore 70 lakh rupees and got direct admission in James Cook University for his PhD in Australia. And I am taking this thing to my own pride that I might not have been able to sponsor them, but they got around 5 crore rupees to study in the world's prestigious colleges. Cambridge is no other excuses to people. So I never tell students to get fascinated with A++ grades of the Kashmir University. It is surprising that they have not done a single research paper on the fossil park in last 252 million years old. Not a single research paper on the wetlands of Pampore. So what I appreciate is Almighty has blessed us with people like you, with great care and concern for the people. I think this is my first online presence in a formal setting where I have shared my ideas. Normally, I'm not an introverts person. Nobody understands my language. Nobody understands my terminologies. Nobody understands that the floods of 2014 was a man-made disaster because we were knowing it in 2009. The floods will come. That's what 300 crores were given to the government in advance to be prepared. That is a 100-year flood cycle. It could have come either in the 2014 or 15. They ignored the warnings of experts. They did not utilize the 300 crores given in advance in the year 2009. And you have the man-made disaster in the 2014 September. So who is responsible? Question is still in the court. We are inquiring about those 413 crores.
Nadeem Saab, the accountability framework is something that's very important.
Very true.
Whether it's at our personal level, or whether it's at the community level, at societal level, and the governance level.
Very true.
आपने वो बात की थी कि हम ट्रैश बाहर छोड़ता कोचन मज, then we can't be complaining like a dog and who out soap did them.
Right.
Right? We shouldn't be. So what we can do immediately, we can stop putting thought never. We can stop that. We can kill half of the problem ourselves. Half of the problem we can kill. Rescue work legally with the other parts.
And the rule implementation, the animal birth control, that's what we are doing. And court is always saying that why should not the contempt proceedings against should not be initiated against the government. So we are at that stage.
We'll keep on working with you, and I'll follow up with you. I just want to thank you so much again for spending so much quality time with us. I know we rushed you from work to your home to come and join us.
My apologies that I was late. I never intend to do it intentionally. The technological errors sometimes land you in a trouble. And I must tell you very frankly, I have this Redmi phone and it is actually 99% memory full. When I check my database and why the memory is full, I have no unnecessary apps and other part. You'll be shocked and surprised, sir. 98% of my memory is full because of the hundreds of complaints, the videos, the mismanaged solid waste, the encroachments, the vandalization of our forest comes directly to my number. Because as an amicus, I'm answerable to the court. I'm on oath to tell the real-time story to the Chief Justice. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm not someone as an environmental activist. I was activist and I was very free those days. But as an amicus curiae, whatever I say must be on affidavit before the court. So I cannot lie to the court that floods have come because somebody has done corruption and other part. It has to be based on some material facts. So as an person who belongs to the society, Kashmir needs to do self-introspection. We're going too much far on materialism and the materialistic world that we have lost the connect with the mother nature. And whatever we are seeing, the melting of glaciers, the pollution in our rivers, the pollution in our streams, the drying of springs is actually the well-articulated predictions by the Holy Book and by the Prophet. No question about that.
Nadeem Saab, I want to thank you again for spending time with me, for spending time with Kashmir Care Foundation, and through us with the people of Jammu and Kashmir and
Thank
Kashmiri
you very much.
diaspora around the world.
I'm on.
I'll follow up on very specific themes that we discuss, and inshallah, we'll continue this conversation. Thank you so much,
Altaf
sir.
Saab, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. I might be too small in the cosmos of the millions and billions of stars around, but I can assure you that we are committed foot soldiers for our place. We have no temptations to move out. We will prefer to contribute in whatever small and limited capacity. We need mentorship, we need support, and we need guidance from people like you. Please do come again to Pampore. I'll take you to some secret locations and you'll be happy to enjoy some peace of mind. So honored to be given an opportunity in this August forum. I've seen these podcasts and all the important programs. I see myself very small in this process, but still grateful to your kindness for giving me an opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please take care of yourself and our salam to your family too.